Welcome to Final Curtain. I'm Donald. Today, we gather to remember iconic figures whose journeys have reached their final chapter. Their talent, dedication, and influence shaped generations and touched millions worldwide. Join us as we honor their remarkable contributions across film, music, and culture, celebrating lives that will forever be remembered and continue inspiring future generations. Mary Wallace Wally Funk, a pioneering aviator and the oldest woman to travel into space, died on July 8, 2026, at her home in Grapevine, Texas, at the age of 87. Funk made history in 2021 when, at 82, she flew aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard spacecraft, surpassing John Glenn's record as the oldest person to reach space. Her achievement came after decades of breaking barriers in aviation. Funk was also one of the women associated with the Mercury 13 program, a group of female pilots who trained for a potential astronaut program during the early space age. Although they were never sent into orbit, their efforts helped challenge expectations about women in aviation and space exploration. Funk's remarkable journey made her a symbol of determination, courage, and lifelong ambition. Penelope Keith, one of Britain's most beloved television actresses, died in June 2026 at her home in Surrey, England, at the age of 86 after a battle with cancer. She became a familiar and cherished presence on British television through her unforgettable performances in classic sitcoms such as The Good Life and To the Manor Born. Her sharp comic timing, distinctive voice, and effortless elegance made her characters instantly memorable and helped establish her as a true television favorite. Keith also showed her versatility through numerous other appearances across British entertainment. Fans particularly remembered her hilarious guest appearance on the 1977 Morecambe and Wise Christmas show, where her comedic talent was on full display. Across a career spanning decades, Keith brought warmth, sophistication, and humor to audiences, leaving behind a lasting legacy in British television. Lex Marinos, born Alexander Francis Marinos in 1949, became one of Australia's most recognizable television personalities. Best known for playing Bruno in Kingswood Country, he built a versatile career spanning acting, directing, radio, and voice work. Born in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, Marinos grew up connected to both Greek heritage and Australian culture, influences that shaped his identity and creative work. His father was a Greek immigrant, while his mother had Greek Australian, Scottish, and English ancestry. Beyond comedy, Marinos earned respect as a director and broadcaster, admired by colleagues for his wit, warmth, intelligence, and professionalism. He died at 75, reportedly peacefully at home surrounded by family. Although his exact cause of death was not publicly disclosed, his passing marked the loss of a cherished Australian entertainer whose work touched several generations. Kaylee Hottle was a young American actress remembered for bringing warmth and sincerity to a role that connected with audiences around the world. She died on July 21, 2026, in a vehicle accident in Maryland. Reports have differed on her exact age, placing her at either 18 or 19. Hottle became widely known for playing Gia, the young deaf girl in Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. She also appeared in an episode of Magnum P.I., showing her growing presence in television and film. Beyond her acting work, Hottle was especially meaningful to members of the deaf community, who saw representation and possibility through her performances. Her career was only beginning, making her passing especially heartbreaking. She is remembered for her talent, determination, and the impact she made in a short time. Wanita Eguiguren, a health and wellness influencer, died at 30 after a long battle with breast cancer. Diagnosed at just 22, she chose to openly share her journey rather than hide the difficult realities of treatment. Over the years, Wanita became a source of encouragement for thousands, using her platforms to promote health awareness, resilience, self-love, and positivity. She spoke honestly about the emotional and physical challenges she faced while continuing to motivate others going through similar experiences. Her openness created a supportive community, particularly for young women dealing with serious illness. After nearly a decade of treatment, Wanita died from complications related to breast cancer. Her passing left followers and supporters mourning a young woman remembered not only for her wellness content, but also for the strength, honesty, and compassion she shared throughout her journey. Wayne Ward, the Canadian baseball pitcher remembered for his years with the Toronto Blue Jays, died on July 18, 2026, in Toronto at the age of 62 from natural causes. A dependable relief pitcher, Ward became an important part of the Blue Jays during the franchise's successful years in the late 1980s and early 1990s. He played a key role as Toronto captured back-to-back World Series championships in 1992 and 1993, becoming part of one of the most celebrated periods in the team's history. After his playing career, Ward remained connected to the Blue Jays as a team ambassador, where he was especially appreciated by fans and younger players. His career was defined not only by his work on the mound, but also by the relationships he built away from the game. Ward leaves behind a respected baseball legacy in Toronto. There are artists who survive fame, and then there are artists who survive everything fame could never prepare them for: poverty, public judgment, unbearable loss, and a disease so rare it can steal the very muscles a performer depends upon. Céline Dion's story contains all of it. Behind the voice that made millions cry was a private life shaped by sacrifice, devotion, and extraordinary resilience. On March 30, 1968, in Charlemagne, Quebec, Céline was born the youngest of 14 children to Adhemar and Therese Dion. Their home was modest, crowded, and sustained by a single income. Privacy was almost non-existent, money was scarce, and winter could be unforgiving. Yet music filled those rooms. Her father played accordion, her mother sang, and her siblings performed alongside them. Music was never merely entertainment. It was how the family celebrated, comforted one another, and endured difficult times. At 5, Céline climbed onto the kitchen table and sang for her family, immediately commanding everyone's attention. By 12, the child who had discovered her voice was ready to discover where it could take her. A voice discovered. At 12, Céline's future changed because her mother believed the world needed to hear her. Therese wrote a song titled "It Was Only a Dream," recorded a homemade demo, and sent it to music manager René Angelil. He had heard countless young singers before, and most failed to hold his attention. Céline was different. When he heard her voice, he reportedly played the recording repeatedly, then arranged to meet the family. Instead of finding a polished performer, he encountered a young girl from Charlemagne whose voice seemed impossibly mature for her age. Angelil was convinced. He signed her and made an extraordinary personal commitment to her career, even mortgaging his own home to finance her first album. It was more than a business decision, it was a declaration of faith in a talent he believed could become extraordinary. Céline began recording French-language music and quickly developed a following in Quebec, but Angelil understood that local success was only the beginning. If Céline was going to become an international artist, everything from her presentation to her language skills would have to evolve. Building a star. The transformation was deliberate. Céline underwent dental work, changed her styling, and devoted herself to learning English so she could reach audiences beyond the French-speaking world. None of this erased the girl from Charlemagne. Instead, it prepared her for a larger stage. Angelil believed in her before she fully understood what she could become, and Céline responded with extraordinary discipline. Their professional relationship, however, gradually became something far more complicated. Angelil was 26 years older than Céline, had been married before, and had children of his own. As she moved from adolescence into adulthood, their bond deepened into love. By her early 20s, they were privately committed to one another, even as the world began to notice. When their relationship became public, criticism followed immediately. The age difference and the history between manager and artist gave tabloids endless material. People questioned whether their relationship could truly be equal. Céline refused to let strangers define what she felt. She knew the man behind the headlines, and she trusted the love they had built over years. In December 1994, they married at Montreal's Notre Dame Basilica in a ceremony watched across Canada, turning a controversial private romance into an undeniable public commitment. The world hears her. Céline's international breakthrough arrived with astonishing speed. In 1988, she represented Switzerland at the Eurovision Song Contest with Ne partez pas sans moi, winning by a single point. The victory introduced her to a vast European audience and gave Angelil the opening he needed to pursue international success. English-language albums followed, including Unison, Céline Dion, and The Color of My Love. Her voice was unlike anything the pop industry could easily categorize. She could deliver enormous power without losing emotional vulnerability, making even the most dramatic song feel personal. The Power of Love reached #1 in the United States, while Think Twice became a major success in the United Kingdom. Then came Because You Loved Me and It's All Coming Back to Me Now, songs that established her as more than a technically gifted singer. She had become a performer, capable of turning emotion into spectacle. Critics who initially dismissed her as overly polished or sentimental were forced to reconsider. Céline was not a temporary phenomenon. Her voice had the rare ability to cross languages, genres, and cultures. Millions of listeners began to feel that her songs belonged to them personally. The Titanic moment. Then came the song that changed everything. In 1997, James Cameron's Titanic was already surrounded by enormous expectations and uncertainty. The film was one of Hollywood's most ambitious productions, and Cameron initially resisted the idea of ending it with a conventional pop ballad. But My Heart Will Go On changed the equation. Céline recorded the song with remarkable simplicity, capturing the emotional quality that would become inseparable from the film. When Titanic became a worldwide phenomenon, the song followed it everywhere. It played in homes, restaurants, elevators, weddings, memorials, and countless private moments. Céline was no longer merely a successful recording artist. She had become part of the emotional soundtrack of an entire generation. The song won major awards and became one of the defining recordings of the era. At the height of her success, Céline had sold more than 100 million records and performed for audiences ranging from ordinary concertgoers to presidents and royalty. She had achieved what the little girl from Charlemagne could barely have imagined. Yet while the world watched her career reach its peak, a private crisis was already beginning. René Angelil, the man who had discovered her, believed in her, married her, and built her career, had been diagnosed with throat cancer. Choosing love, in 1998, Angelil's diagnosis forced Céline to make a decision that shocked the entertainment industry. She did not simply reduce her schedule or take a temporary break. She stepped away from her career entirely. Tours, recordings, appearances, and the machinery surrounding one of the world's biggest stars were placed on hold. Céline chose to become a wife before becoming a superstar. She stayed beside René through treatment, chemotherapy, uncertainty, and the exhausting fear that accompanies serious illness. Executives could talk about lost momentum and career timing, but those arguments could not compete with what mattered to her. She had spent her childhood watching Angelil risk everything for her dream. Now, she was willing to risk her own career to remain beside him. For 2 years, the global star disappeared from the center of public life. Behind closed doors, she lived a completely different existence. There were hospital visits, difficult conversations, long nights, and moments when optimism was difficult to maintain. Eventually, treatment worked, and Angelil went into remission. His recovery gave Céline the opportunity to return, but she did not want to return to the exact life she had left. She wanted a way to build a career without sacrificing the family she had fought so hard to protect. The children, Céline and René, wanted more children, but pregnancy did not come easily. Their journey through fertility treatments became a deeply personal chapter of their lives. The process involved repeated attempts, injections, uncertainty, disappointment, and grief. For a woman whose public image suggested complete control, fertility reminded her that some of life's most important outcomes cannot be commanded by determination or money. She eventually became pregnant and in 2010 gave birth to twin boys, Nelson and Eddie. The happiness inside the family was enormous. René Charles, then 9 years old, suddenly became an older brother, while René and Céline welcomed 2 more sons into a home already shaped by years of love and struggle. For René, becoming a father again carried an especially powerful meaning because he had already survived cancer once. Holding his newborn sons represented time he had once feared he would never receive. Céline later described motherhood as an experience that surpassed anything she could express through music. Yet beneath the joy was a reality neither parent could completely ignore. René was older, and his health history meant they understood more clearly than most families how precious ordinary days could be. The return of cancer. In 2013, the nightmare returned. René's cancer came back, and this time, the battle was harder. He underwent treatment again, but his body was older, and the disease was more difficult to overcome. Céline gradually reduced her professional commitments, prioritizing her husband and children. Once again, she began disappearing from the foreground of her own career. But this time, the circumstances were different. The first illness had ended in recovery. The second carried a darker possibility that both of them understood. There were still good months, family meals, conversations, birthdays, and moments when hope felt reasonable. Their sons continued growing, and Céline tried to preserve as much normality as possible. But there were also difficult days that she kept largely private. Her public life had always been enormous, yet the most painful moments of her existence were taking place away from cameras. She had spent decades singing about heartbreak, separation, devotion, and loss. Now she was living those emotions without the protective distance of a song. René's condition continued to deteriorate, and Céline remained beside him. The woman who once left the stage to help him survive his first cancer battle now faced the possibility that this time, love might not be enough to save him. The final goodbye. On January 14, 2016, René Angelil died at their home in Las Vegas at the age of 73. For Céline, the loss was almost impossible to measure. He had been her manager, husband, mentor, protector, and the person who believed in her before she believed in herself. He had entered her life when she was only 12 and remained at its center for more than 3 decades. He had mortgaged his house to finance her first album, guided her through international success, endured public criticism over their relationship, and fought cancer with her beside him. Now he was gone. The tragedy did not end there. Just 2 days later, Céline's brother Daniel Dion also died after battling cancer, turning an already unbearable period into an almost unimaginable double loss. In a matter of 48 hours, Céline lost 2 men from her family to the same disease. The world mourned publicly, but the grief inside the Dion family was private and overwhelming. Céline had spent years preparing herself to lose René, yet preparation could not make the moment easier. She had watched him slowly weaken, held his hand through illness, and remained beside him until the end. Now she had to discover who she was, without the man around whom so much of her life had been built. A voice in grief. After René's death, Céline returned to the stage, but nothing about the performances felt the same. Every song carried memories of the man who had helped create her career. She continued working because singing was not simply her profession, it was the language through which she had always processed life. But grief followed her into every performance. She became both an international superstar and a widow raising 3 children. Her public strength often concealed the complexity of private mourning. She had lost the person who had been beside her through childhood, adolescence, global fame, marriage, motherhood, illness, and recovery. Yet she continued. There were concerts, recordings, television appearances, and eventually a return to the world stage. She did not pretend that moving forward meant forgetting. Instead, she carried René's memory with her. Her career became intertwined with remembrance, particularly as her children grew older and began understanding more deeply what their father had meant to their family. Céline's story had always been about a voice, but now that voice carried something new, the weight of survival. Every performance became proof that grief could coexist with purpose. She had already learned that life could take away almost everything. What remained was the decision to keep living, loving, raising her children, and singing. When her body fought back, years later, another battle emerged, this time inside Céline's own body. She was diagnosed with stiff person syndrome, an extremely rare neurological disorder that can affect muscle control and cause severe stiffness and spasms. For a performer whose career depended on precise movement and complete command of her voice and body, the diagnosis was devastating. The disease could make walking difficult, interfere with daily movement, and create physical limitations that audiences could never see from the outside. Céline had already survived poverty, public judgment, her husband's illness and death, and the loss of her brother. Now, her own body was threatening the thing that had carried her through every chapter, her ability to perform. Her disappearance from the stage was therefore not a simple career break. It was another confrontation with uncertainty. She had spent decades proving that determination could overcome obstacles, but stiff person syndrome introduced a challenge that could not simply be defeated through willpower. Treatment, rehabilitation, rest, and patience became part of her new reality. For someone accustomed to enormous stages and demanding schedules, learning to respect physical limitations was a painful transformation. Yet once again, Céline faced the impossible question she had confronted throughout her life. If everything changes, what part of you remains? Still, singing Céline Dion's story ultimately cannot be reduced to awards, records, sold-out shows, or one unforgettable song. Those achievements are extraordinary, but they explain only the public half of her life. The deeper story began in a crowded Quebec home where 14 children shared limited space, and a mother and father filled hardship with music. It continued through a 12-year-old girl whose voice convinced René Angelil to risk his own security, a young woman who defended a controversial love, a global superstar who walked away from fame to care for her husband, a mother who endured fertility struggles, a widow who lost the center of her world, and an artist forced to confront a rare disease that threatened her ability to perform. Through every transformation, one quality remained. She kept choosing to move forward. Céline did not survive because life became easier. She survived because she learned how to continue when easy answers disappeared. Her greatest legacy may therefore be larger than any chart record. It is the reminder that behind every extraordinary voice is a human being carrying private battles the spotlight cannot reveal. And after everything she has endured, the remarkable part is not simply that Céline Dion kept singing, it is that she kept finding reasons to live beyond the song.